All right, it is Wednesday evening. This is Track Chat with the most known unknowns. We got a special guest this week, Mrs. Kellie Wells Brinkley. All right, she's joining us. She's really gonna take over our show this week. We're so glad to have her. If you don't know us, I am Coach Kyle Stevenson. We got my boy. He want to change his name every week, but Hunt Johnson, head coach at Johnson C. Smith, and we have the alchemist himself, Coach Stamps. All right, Kellie, say what's up.
What's up? It is your favorite Olympian, Kelly Wells Brinkley. Like you said, I'm here to take it over because what do women do but like take over a boy show? Like they needed some flavor on here, and I will not disappoint.
We love it. We love it. So we're gonna jump right into it. We know that you and Lamont have a very close relationship, so he's gonna be throwing out some questions. But let's at least just start with your HBCU experience. I think like right now with the climate of everything that's going on, people are starting to make that shift. Give the people your HBCU experience.
My years at Hampton University was like my absolute most favorite time of my young adult life. It literally taught me the pride of being a black woman. I come from, a very not diverse area in Virginia, and so there was not a whole lot of people that looked like me. So once I stepped foot onto Hampton's campus, and I was on my visit, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all these shades of black. We come from all different parts of the world, and just going through classes and really seeing like how much of a family for my team was. Like those are like my real sisters. Like I snatched somebody over one of them. And then even the school, like even if you don't know somebody, everybody's hugging. And when I go back for homecoming, and I will hug somebody, and they'll be like, oh, what's his name? I'd be like, child, I don't know, we had University 101 together, though. That's what I remember. And just learning the rich history of melanated people, and just how beautiful and powerful we are, and how they built us up, from like our president down. A lot of people, may not rock with Harvey. Like that's my guy. And I don't know if that comes from being like a standout athlete on campus, but I watched him go to bat for the university. I've watched him go to bat for students. And like every school, people have their problems. But I loved every minute at Hampton University. I loved the struggle. I loved the scholarship not being in your account, even though the money's coming from the school. Like all of that, looking back on it, built so much character, especially from when I was traveling on the circuit. Because you would look at some people that came from these big schools, and everything was automatic and meal plans and all of that. And, coming from our struggle, and like, being on sometimes the B and C circuit, not having meals, or, looking at like, so I got pasta and a potato, and that's what I'm supposed to run off of. And I'm like, boom, I can chef this up. Like I can make a whole gourmet meal out of this and go like run a PR. So it just prepared me for life. And people think all the time that they're like, oh, I don't, I have like, I don't want to just go to school with all one type of people. Just because we're all black doesn't mean that we think the same or act the same or react the same. So it's, to me, it was super diverse, and like I loved it. I loved it. I miss it. I love it.
So Hampton is the real HU, right?
All day, every day.
There we go. Now, before moving on, also because we've had Coach Richie Bean that's down at Alabama State, we've
Hmm.
had him on a previous show.
Okay.
And myself, I don't work in an HBCU. Stamps does not. Of course, Lamont does, but none of us attended an HBCU. So we are all still just in very big support of student athletes, considering those HBCUs as a choice, especially with you taking Yvette Lewis and David Oliver that are coaching at HBCU. So if you could just expound a little bit on your athletic experience, and the coaching and the
Mhm.
travel and the meets and everything.
Um, my coach Maurice Pierce, who's still the head coach at Hampton, became like our dad. He took such good care of us, and he really took the time to listen to us, to listen to like what meets we wanted to go to, especially like when he saw like myself and Yvette, like really blossoming. He let us blossom, but then he also held us to a point of like, I know you're not ready for this. I know, like, hey, look, they got a little bit too much fire for where you are right now. Let's develop. And I feel like a lot of times other big schools may not get that. They just may get thrown in the fire. And he really enforced upon us like that family sisterhood, even with the guys team. Because when I was there for most of my career, he wasn't the men's head coach. Spider-Man Boy was. So he impressed upon us to be a family and to look out for one another because all of us came from different places. But we still got those chances to go compete with the LSUs, the Floridas, the people like the schools that people looked at that like, oh my gosh, they have the fast people. And he mentally prepared us like, you ain't never going to be scared of no one. Like, you will not be scared. I don't care what color uniform they got on. Take them, like, bust them in the head. And we talk about this all the time of like, all of us may not have had the best attitudes. Like, I definitely have let an official have it every now and then, but it was because Maurice trained us to be on go. Like, we were warriors, and it was just a beautiful thing because we would have our HBCU meets and go into MEAC, and we would compete against the people in the MEAC. But then we knew, like, once we were out on the road, and I would see, like, David is one of my very good friends to this day, and we would see each other, and then we would be like our own family. So it would be like, look out for each other, on the road. If, you see a team and, they may not have something, or, somebody else from a Howard may go down at a Florida relays, like, we're all going to look out for each other because we know that we were under respected for the things that we were doing.
That's what's up. So sticking with the HBCU thing, but we're gonna switch gears a little bit. North Carolina A&T. There's no doubt right now they're hot. If they're not
Hmm.
the hottest school in the country, they are definitely the hottest HBCU right now in the country. So if you can, and I want Lamont to definitely chime in on this. This is our track and field historian at this point. Uh, how do you feel about what's going on down there in North Carolina A&T right now?
I love it. Coach down there has them rocking and rolling. They are running like a like, not even like an HBCU powerhouse. They're running like a powerhouse. From just their look, because I feel like that is a huge part of it. Like, you look like, if you got the good uniforms, like, you run better, you feel better. He has them training like pros, conducting themselves like pros. I think it's wonderful. Their facilities, from when they first started building stuff, was very beautiful. Like, I remember we would have MEAC championships there. I was super jealous. Like, they got a hot tub and a cold tub. Everybody calm down. Like, what's happening here? So I am over the moon, excited and proud, and I talk junk on behalf of them to all of my PWIs all the time, because even though they are, better funded, and they're still underfunded than most PWIs. And like, what they make happen is great. And to know the coaches that started there, and then, the legacy that it has brought is great, because it didn't just start with the current coach there. You know, there were other people that laid the groundwork, that fought for those facilities, and you got to always pay respect to that, because like, without that, they wouldn't be where they are now.
Cool. So, Lamont, if you could just chime in, because again, for the people, we all know we've seen the
Mhm.
transition, North Carolina A&T. But to our fans that are becoming fans, but may not be a track fan, let them know a little bit of that backstory of how A&T has gotten to where they are now.
Well, first and foremost, they had a change from the very top, meaning the president all the way down to the athletic manager. The board of regents came in. Unfortunately, there was an unfortunate circumstance that took place. Don't want to bring that up. New president was hired. Everybody under him, new athletic director was hired, and that athletic director felt that the location, the area, the wherewithal of just how to put together a structure of athletic excellence came all together with the backing of the president of the board of regents. You now saw the basketball, not the basketball, I'm sorry, you saw the football team start to take off. Now they starting to get draft picks and stuff like that. They getting people that's getting noticed. Then with Coach Ross, he was at he was at the D3 school. He had an opportunity to go there. He laid the foundation, got rid of what he needed to get rid of, brought in what he needed to bring in, and he took a risk and a chance on himself and a new philosophy. He brought it there. He made the school attractive. When you watch them at track meets, there's a different, and they remind me a lot of when Hampton was at the forefront of the HBCUs. They and I'm not just saying that because Kelly's on here. I've been at meets where Mopi and Kelly and even all and just a lot of those really good male sprints. I think when he took over both programs,
Mhm.
that's when I really started to see and how they will warm up, how they will come to meets, how they will move. Like you and I all know that when we was at meets Tennessee, I would say there was a certain way we conducted ourselves when we got to meet. When you watch Ross and his team get ready, it's like watching a machine, and he got them to buy into what he wants, and
The
they all
buy-in.
buy in. You never see them going back and forth with their coaches or this and the third. Everything. If they have a bad race, pull them to the side, have a regular conversation. I know before in certain instances at other schools, a kid have a bad race, he's shoving off the coach and he's telling the coach how to do this. Nah, not him. He's running like a well-oiled machine. So I don't see Hampton and I don't see A&T as HBCUs because I see them as powerhouse schools that so happen to elevate above their means. So he's doing a great job there, man.
I
He's
like
doing a
that.
great job.
I like that, and that actually makes a good segue because you mentioned somehow you would get into it with officials, Kelly. But so, how did that HBCU really shape you for a career in pro track? Because I believe you mentioned you never made an NCAA outdoor final.
Nope.
Okay, so yeah, school us.
It just gave me a tenacity to like prove people wrong all the time. They knew that like I was kind of good, so to keep pushing through to try to make the final, try to get as far as I could. Like I knew that I had more in the tank, and so moving into my professional careers, with all of the things that I am pursuing, people kind of have that look of like, oh, you're an athlete, or oh, you did this for 10 years, so you're not prepared. And then when I'm like, well, first of all, I have an MBA, so let's start there. And then busting out with all this stuff, terms, and you know, all the stuff that I do know, it shocks them all the time. And I take so much joy in watching like their eyebrows raise, like, oh, so she's not just an athlete or a cute face. And I'm like, well, no, I am that too. But I'm also wildly brilliant. So don't underestimate. And I've been underestimated my entire career, starting from high school and then going to college, and then even professionally, no one thought that I would make it as far as I did. And then even to now. So I use it all as fuel, and it also keeps me humble to know that like you can't forget where you come from. You can't forget, the things that got you to be where you be, or to where you are, because when you become successful, it's very easy to forget about the struggle and to just kind of coast.
Cool. So, Stamps, I want you to jump in because I know we started to get into it off camera. About necessarily like when to tell people to stop, where you may not be in the top 100, the top 50, or the top 25. And we already know the money is scarce, so jump in on that part. And Kelly, I want you to chime in like when you're not that top person coming out of college, like what keeps you going, or when should you know when to stop, or when should a coach know when to tell their athlete like, hey, just let it go.
Yeah. So, I'll start. I would like to start here and ask that first question, and then there might be a follow up in it because I definitely want Kelly to share her truth. Um, tell the people, tell the world, from the time you graduated, state the year when you got your first contract, and what types of things you had to go through, as well as who was coaching you till you got that first contract.
Okay, so I graduated in 2005. And then right after leaving, I was always really good with networking and being nice to people and personable, and learning the right people in our sport to talk to. So there was a man named Kermit Foster. He had a Nike developmental group. One of the first people to take a chance on me. So I was getting my master's at Hampton. So I stayed there my first professional career, and it had no money at all. So I had no money in my first, like I signed a piece of paper with no money, but I got like gear. So I knew I'm like, okay, like I don't have to pay for shoes and clothes to train in, but I worked, and it had like bonuses. So it was bonuses and gear. and that was my first year coming out of college. And it was hard. It was hard. Oh my gosh, to work like a full 40-hour job and train was, I mean, it was almost impossible, but like I had a dream and I knew that like nobody was going to stop me from my dream. If I was going to stop, it was just going to be because I was going to stop, not because somebody's going to be like, well, you in a 5-year MBA program, you got a master's, like you can go get a good job. And I'd be like, all right, mind your business though. Like what I'm doing affecting you?
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, and then when would you say, along the lines of that first contract, when was your first contract that came with, I guess, an annual salary, and then compare that to whatever your last contract was? When did you retire?
2000, officially 2016, 2015, I was done.
Okay. But so if you could just kind of tie those two together,
Yeah.
because your first contract was gear and bonuses, your first like salaried contract, and then whatever the last one was.
So what I did was I left Hampton because I knew that I had to spread my wings at that point. I was like a big fish in a small pond. I knew everybody. Maurice and I, he helped me get to my first PR. Well, I mean all of my PRs, but like my first professional PR. But I knew that like his main focus was the team. So it hurt my heart to have to leave there. But I left there and I moved down with Dennis Mitchell. And so what happened was like as soon as I got with Dennis and I really learned how to hurdle, how to lift, like proper diets, like all of that stuff, I PR'd like that in an instant. So then I started hitting Nike over the head for bonuses because usually they give you like the one and that's just what you get. So like if you run 12.5, you get the 12.5 bonus. Well, my contract was I got paid for each time I ran a time. So if I ran sub 13, I would get $1,000. So every time I ran sub 13, I got $1,000. So then I knew like, okay, so this is how I'm going to make money if I don't have this contract. So I think my first contract bonus payout, I probably made about, and then yeah, with like race places and all of that, like that are in your bonuses, I probably made a good 30 on them from that. So like that was huge for me. Like I got 30 on top of I had two jobs at that point when I was training with Dennis. I have 30 on top of this. Like this is just gonna set me up so I could quit one of my like that job. Then came 2008 Olympic trials semifinals. So then I ran 12.5. And then that really got Nike's like, oh, well, she is serious. Like now we can see like because in that 1 year when I was with Dennis, I went down there at 12.93, but I was really like a 13 flat consistent girl. And I ran 12.58 in that 9 months of training. So like Dennis changed my life completely. So then that was when Nike's eyes were wide open. And so then I got my second contract. Honey, they gave me 20 whole $1,000 base salary, 20 whole of them. And then of
Wow.
course, yeah, look, that's what 12.5 gets you, honey. And then I mean taking like that, I
Hold on,
did
hold on.
tear, yeah,
Say that again. 12
Yeah.
20
5.
Yes.
What?
$20,000. Now going back a little bit, like I did tear my hamstring in the semifinals of 2008 trials. So I knew that they were well aware of like, okay, she may not come back. She may not come back to full form. So I knew I was also battling that on the other side of it of like, okay, this was a low ball, but then my bonuses were also very, very good. So I got to keep my same bonuses for that contract. Shout out to Robert Wagner on that one. So then my base was 20, but then I was hitting them over the head for bonuses because when I came back super strong.
Hmm.
Uh, and so then I got a rollover. So then it took my contract from like 20 to 40. And so then after the rollover, like then I got bonuses. So I was doing okay. Like I was making like teacher salary, maybe a little bit more. And when you're young and you don't really I didn't have kids or like responsibilities. So it was okay. Like it wasn't enough for the damn run. Oh, excuse me, the running that I was doing, them 300 repeats. Like I needed some more money for that. Um,
Mhm.
and then my final contract was after the 2012 Olympics because luckily I came into the 2012 Olympics on my negotiation year. So I was like, okay, so they said make the team, make the podium, and you can make some money. Um, We went through negotiations. It was very, very difficult because, they're telling me this person took this and this person took that. And I'm such an individualist. Like, I don't care what nobody else took. I don't care what nobody else did. Like, I don't like, haven't y'all realized that about me yet? So I'm like, I
Right.
don't care what she accepted. You told me make the team, make the podium. And I did both. Because they came back, their first offer was probably about 45, 50. And I was like, who? We're not, who?
Right.
Who? No, we're not doing that. So I think we settled on 70. And then
Good for you.
they completely changed my bonus structure because I was hitting them over the head for just too much money with like them paying me every time I ran a certain time. So then but I mean I still did well, but yeah, my base salary was 70. And I know that's nothing in comparison to what a sprinter could make. Or don't let me be a little distance runner, honey, because I like get a medal at the Olympics, I would have been set for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Thank you.
But
Thank you, Kelly.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Hey,
Mm.
Oh,
we love to have those conversations here. So if KY can make some time, we might dive into it.
oh yeah, we
Mhm.
looking good. But because she's brought up the year, I gotta let Lamont. He gotta get it in. So take us back down memory lane,
Uh-huh.
2008.
Well, what about 2008, gentlemen?
What about 2008, Lamont?
Hold on,
Okay.
Mont, before you go, all I'm gonna say is this. I don't know.
Yep.
Wait, you mean 12 at the games?
That's 12. That's 12. That's 12, Kyle. London. London.
Yeah,
Not a
London,
problem.
12.
Not a problem. I got you.
12.
Go ahead.
So ask what you want to know. I told
Yeah.
like I'm an open book. I'm a very honest. So ask
Ask
what you
it,
want to know.
Lamont.
Okay, so this right here is probably going to be the preview. Okay, so you and Dawn Harper,
My ace, my
y'all,
dog.
your ace, your dog, your ace boon coon. That was your
Mhm.
ride. That was your ride or die. I have a strong feeling that y'all was probably roommates.
No, we
I
weren't.
believe.
Mm-mm.
No, y'all
Nope.
weren't roommates. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so clearly there was somebody who was the favorite to win that race.
Yeah.
And this somebody happens to be a SEC alum like my two constituents who are on this panel right now. This individual ran for Louisiana State University. As the race goes on, the race doesn't go exactly according to plan because this certain individual hit one of the hurdles. You all capitalized. You all did what y'all was supposed to do. Y'all didn't hit y'all hurdles. You all, hey, I got the medal.
Hmm.
There was some commentary
Yeah.
that came out afterwards that you and Dawn Harper, who many people love, took a lot of heat for.
A
Now
lot
you
of
and I
heat.
had, now you and I had conversation about that,
Hmm.
and you was very passionate about your stance. Walk us through walk us through that whole situation if you want to talk about the actual interview that got out and if you feel that it was a colorism thing behind that.
Yeah. Um. Well, one, I said what I said, and I said what I said. Because what maybe America, but I feel like our community of track and field understands that like we are only team whatever when we go to world championships and the Olympics. So other than that, like I am Kelly Wells at that point, the runner. And I know like I have to show up and show out for myself. So, going from even uh Olympic trials press conference, and this is stuff that like the media, NBC, even you guys don't see. If you're not in that little back paddock, you don't see it. And to
Yeah.
know that like I literally just accomplished like the most amazing feat of my entire life. And
Mm-hmm.
like what I did is for me and my family and my support system. So to know that out of 20 questions, 19 and a half were for Lori Susan Jones are it is just disrespectful. Like for one, for Dawn Harper, who won, she was the victor that day. Like she and like we ran in the rain. Like, I don't even think people realize, like, we stood in the rain for a torrential downpour for a good 5 minutes. So I think Jenny Powell was in my heat that one. We didn't even have dry clothes. So
Mm.
to like come back, bounce back, make the team, and to literally be on cloud nine. And I didn't have anything against Lolo. Like, personally, eh, for a good while before I got fast, me and Lolo were friends. We would share Bible verses on. That was when everybody had BBMs. We would BBM back and forth. Like, we would talk outside of track, and like outside of a track meet, like go out when we're in Europe. We had the same manager, so we traveled together all the time. When
For
our
those who
manager,
don't know, for those who don't know what BBMs are, that's
oh,
BlackBerry Messenger. Continue.
BlackBerry Messenger, yes, I really
What's
miss
that?
I
I
miss
miss mine.
BBM. I
Yeah.
miss BBM.
Yeah.
So we traveled together. When our agent fired Lolo and dumped her, I was one of the main catalysts to get her back in the group. So,
Oh,
yeah, it's fine. Robert
okay.
kind of fires everybody like at some point. So I mean,
Mm,
he's a European guy. Who cares? Um,
right.
so I was the protesting, like, man, let the girl back in the group. She don't have an agent. Like, come on, like we got work to do. Um, so when we came to the games, all of the media leading up to it, had picked a favorite. We could see it clear as day, like they made that very clear. And what I've always functioned off of and what I've always lived by is the finish line knows no favorites. Like, if the finish line knew a favorite, the people that got gold medals, silver medals, and bronze medals probably wouldn't have got those because of what the media built it up to be.
Mm,
So there was definitely behind the scenes drama with, Lolo, and, how she would speak to people or treat people, whatever. And, there's definite, like, I mean, I felt at the time that there was light skin privilege included in that. And then
mm,
to the public, to people at home, she's very appealing to the eyes, especially to like that time period that we were in. Like, now it's cool to be brown skin. Like, they're putting brown skin people on the front of everything because of, the Black Lives Matter stuff. And, now it's good to be a brown skin girl. Like, wow, I've got kinky hair and my skin is brown. But at that point, the media had, they chose her, and she had a great story. And anybody, I know y'all know, like, she had a great story. She was homeless and she fought from the bottom, which she did. And then she hit the hurdle in 2008 when she was a clear favorite. Like, no, like, if she would have completed that race, like, it would have been amazing. But that's the hurdles. Shit, it just don't happen that way all the time. So we get through all of that. One of the biggest things of when you cross the finish line, you know, the three are we're ushered around the corner. So there is no like hugging the, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth places. And like, it was me, Dawn, and Sally. We were hugging, screaming. I wasn't thinking of anybody but myself. I did this. Like, nobody helped. I mean, of course I had help with like coaches and stuff. But like, there's no relay. I didn't hand a baton to somebody. So I hugged them and we went around our lap. We get back. I didn't even know she got fourth until we were in the back for processing. Like, that's how oblivious I was. Once I saw Wells pop up on third, I didn't give a damn about nothing. Like, nobody else. I knew I got third, but I needed to see it. So we were in the back for processing, and Sally's agent was back there. No, Sally's
Yeah.
coach, because she had a woman. Or was it her? No, because her agent was Maury. So it was her coach. That lady was like, I just can't believe Lolo got fourth. Like, that was a comeback. I was like, oh, she did? Well, okay then. Like, that's great. Like, for the season that she was having, that was a phenomenal feat. Like, she was running very bad that season. She was going through injuries and whatever. So cool. Next morning, we wake up. One of your honors when you get an Olympic medal is the three go through Media Row. So you go to Good Morning America, you go to all the fun stuff. That is one of your privileges for being a medalist. And then, we wake up and we look, and there's Lolo. And we're like, well, what's this? So every interview that we were going through, they were asking us about her. And it was a level of disrespect that we both received of like, okay, yes, she got fourth, that's great, but I did this. And like, Dawn and I didn't even want to talk about each other. And we told them, like, don't present us as a package deal because we come from the same country. Like, we should be on our own thing. So it wasn't just about Lolo Jones. It was about the way that it was being handled for the both of us. Like, we wanted to do our own things. Of course, we support each other, and we were like, that's my dog. But we wanted to do our own things, like, and not be like, oh, they're second and third. Like, no, I'm Dawn, or she's Dawn, I'm Kellie. So then we get to that, meeting with whatever the child's name is. It's not coming. Michelle Beagle. And so we started off talking about it, and I hit them with the question before we were on air of, because they brought it up, and we were like, okay, whatever. Because we thought that they weren't going to touch on it. And then I asked them, I said, do you know who got fourth at the 2008 Olympics? And then they all gave me the blank face. Like, and I'm like, do you know? And I was like, and they were like, no. I was like, my training partner, Damu Cherry Mitchell. And I was like, but no one talked about that. And if I got fourth, y'all wouldn't be asking Lolo about me. So I did this. I would love to have my moment. And I don't want it to be overshadowed by someone else's misstep or someone else's, or how they viewed it as a failure. Because if you make an Olympic final, that's not a failure. But it wouldn't have been reversed. So the interview went, and it aired, and it was live, honey, live and in color. And I still stand behind what I said is, like, we worked hard and we made the podium, and we're going to be getting our medals tonight. And, like, I don't want to talk about a divide between a team, because we're honestly not a team. And, I ran for my family, my country, my friends, all the people that supported me to get here. And if it would have been reversed, like, what are we talking about? Everybody has a story. There's so many people that, like, young, brown, even white, like, that have made it somewhere, that have a story, and they should have the opportunity to share it without it being jaded or having someone else's stuff shoved in their face too. And I think it has to do with, like, women. They want me to be this cute little competitor that hugs my girl after the race, and I can't be fierce. Like, if it was Justin or Bolt that said something after a race, a man would have been praised. But a woman, I'm supposed to be soft and dainty and not have a competitive edge, or I'm looked at as like, oh my God, she's a hater. And, like, the amount of stuff, like, I woke up to, like, tweets, like thousands and thousands of tweets of people creating fake pages. One of,
That's
like,
what I was
people,
about to ask you.
yeah, like, the backlash was terrible, because I never said anything about Lolo. I just said I'm not going to talk about it. And that should be respected. I PR'd and got a bronze medal. Like, look, a whole bronze. Like, I did it. And I don't want to talk about anyone else. And that should just be respected. And no disrespect. And I mean, if y'all knew what was going on behind the stage, it's like, no, we did not fool with each other at all. Zero fools, zero. But that was a personal thing. But what I was doing was professional. And maybe I could have said it differently, but I probably wouldn't, because I'm like America hurt me. My country that I performed for hurt me. The people that were interviewing me hurt me.
Mm.
And then to come to find out that, like, Michelle and Lolo were like this, like, yeah, it's a lot.
Oh.
So, like, yes, they were close. Like, it was
Get into it.
Yeah, it was hurtful. Like, the people that I wore that flag for, finding my nephew on Facebook and Twitter, calling him a porch monkey because he's a biracial child. Like, these are things, like, I got called nigger so many times during all of that. It was the most hurtful thing of, like, so I'm not supposed to have emotions about, my victory. And then, like, we come into the Olympics knowing there are 8 lanes in the finals. There are 3 medals. There are no participation trophies. There are no pats on the back. Track and field is cut and dry. There are no judges. Well, I mean, in the jump, but that's not what I did. There's no judges. There's no nothing. There's you against the clock. Like, I'm not even racing a competitor. I'm racing the clock. Like, can I make this stop clock? Who can do it first? And what time is it going to happen? So track and field is such an emotionless sport because I don't have to feel anything. I just have to be there and present and in the moment. And the more you take your feelings out of it, the better you perform. when you start clouding your judgment with feelings and this person said this, like I may not have done as good as I did. At the final, we were getting off of like these carts that like had to bring us because it was like a big hill to get to the stadium. So they gave us carts to ride. I brought Lolo inside because they were trying to stand us out in the rain. And regardless of anything, I respect you as a competitor. I may not like you as a person for whatever happened, but I respect you as a competitor. And if I'm gonna win, I want it to be even playing field. And
Mm.
it like I don't want to win off a technicality or I got to be dry and she's wet. No, I was like, y'all. And so I grabbed, all the Americans like, y'all come stand under here. So me, Lolo, and Dawn stood under this thing to not be in the rain because it rained during our final. And
Mm.
so to be treated like that, and I just never said anything about her. I just said we worked hard and the people that worked hard and that are going to be on the podium, we should get our flowers. We should be hugged. I shouldn't have to feel sad that I shouldn't, sorry, there's a kid. I shouldn't have to feel sad that, she got fourth and I got third because, like, whose medal was she getting? I wasn't giving her my medal. Like, no.
Y'all, you were better on that day.
That's it.
Listen,
Exactly. In that sport, somebody win, somebody lose. Like,
listen. I'll be the first to tell you that me and Kelly had some very spirited conversations about this many years ago, and I know about the tweets because I saw them.
Hmm.
I know about the hell that she had to go through in order to get to where she was. It's kind of almost like the young girl from the University of Iowa who had to work 3 jobs and she ended up getting a silver medal. And Adidas finally decided, okay, well, we're going to give her something. So now that she's telling us more behind the scenes stories, I now understand where her mindset was at that time. And let me be the first to say it because I've said things publicly, and I'm gonna say it to you now. Now that you have told me and the rest of the world the whole story, I apologize for not knowing the whole story. And this is my way of saying, hey, you was right. You was every right to feel the way you felt. My humble apologies to you. If I could say things out loud, I should be able to apologize just as loud. So I apologize and thank you for clearing up the whole backstory behind everything between the 2012 Olympics. We
You
we
know,
appreciate that.
Thank you for that because, we've known each other like a real long time. And I
Yes.
remember reading some of your Facebook posts about it and I was like, Lamont, like,
Yeah.
really? Like, because I was like, one, ooh, the judgment, ooh, like
whew,
you
a word,
like
a word.
the judgment, sir. The
I gotta eat
judgment.
it. I gotta eat it, fellas. I have to eat this. I have to eat it.
We
Let her
know.
Um,
go.
but
You
Yeah.
stay
but
full.
also,
You stay full.
yeah, like, but also like knowing that everybody probably knows stuff on a very high level. And then not to mention of, my competitor, that person accusing me of being on drugs so many times. Like not once, not twice, and not privately. Like drugs. So then there's that on top of it. And like knowing that like,
Oh.
no, because I worked like I gave up my entire life for that medal, for track. I sacrificed so much. Like I worked 2 jobs and trained full time. I worked 7 days a week because I didn't have help. I don't have family like that. My mom died and
Mm.
my dad and I don't speak. So everything that I've gotten, I got on my own. And like there was no support other than like my friends and people around me, but they couldn't monetarily support me. So I literally worked and worked and worked. And to know that like I packed up this little Saturn car with a busted out window in the back, drove 12 hours down to Florida to rent a room from somebody for 300 and something dollars a month, and moving down there with the money that I made from the circuit, which was about $1,400, to follow a dream
Oh.
that I had, and to know that like someone would, accuse me of being on drugs, and like these, and like then even when the stuff with Justin happened, later, with the whole like Robert and this stuff happened like what 2 years ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And for her to like publicly put it on Twitter, like, I know that I'm going to be getting my medal back because, her agent, who was my agent, like, we all had the same agent, babe. Relax. And then her coach, are wrapped up into this drug scandal. I know that I'm going to be getting my medal back. Like, put that on Twitter, like, for the public to see. And, at first when I say I was heated, like, I was enraged because in our sport, all we have is our credibility. And our sport at the highest levels down to the lowest levels is like a big rumor mill. And I already had to combat that because of Dennis's past and then Damu's past and stuff that they had been mixed up in. I've never failed a drug test. I never missed a test. I've always been clean. And what I did was I just changed my life. And I knew that I had talent way back when. Dennis just developed me. And I think about the workouts and stuff that I did. I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy. That was literally insane. Like, I don't know how I ran those times and lifted that weight. But like you said, buy-in. I bought into his program. And I believe if he said walk off a building and eat a Cheeto, that's what I was doing because I knew that he was going to take me to be successful. So, to know throughout my career, once I started running fast and beating her, and to have the drug accusations thrown out, like we almost came to like physical blows at a track meet. But this is stuff that people don't know because like you can't keep accusing me of being on drugs because I won Doha. Like I ran 12.5 that meet. And the week before I was at Florida Relays and I ran 12.3 with a like 3.1 win behind me. Like I was ready that year. Like it was 2011. So from 2011, all of 2012, Lola and I were not cool because of the things that like I never did anything to her. She would always have something negative to say because those were 2 hard years for her on the track. And I always attributed to like hurt people hurt people. She is projecting her feelings upon you. That is just going to be her negativity. So like, don't respond to it. But then when we're at, track meets and they're like, oh man, after the race, Lola was in the warm up room, like where you put your clothes on, like talking about you're on drugs and she can't wait till you get busted. And I was like, oh, I was at the press conference, so I wouldn't really know about none of that. So like, then I had to confront it because I was tired of it. So the final of the Olympics was like the icing on the cake. And then, a couple years ago on Twitter was like the candle that lit. And like I still never responded to her, except I gave one interview that was like, I don't need to steal. I got it. I have everything in life. I have a husband, a medal, a family. Like I'm good. And like we have different paths. So that was 2012. And, I don't take back anything that I said because why?
Right.
Can I
You
can
know
I add
when you
one thing?
when
As a
Yeah.
fanboy, Kyle
good.
fortunately has been able to be in London to see the fans there. He went to a Diamond League meet. Was it a year or two ago?
Yeah.
I was I was in the stadium 2012. I was coaching in Saudi Arabia, and as you're talking, I did the. Let me see if I can turn this around. No. Um,
Nah, don't risk it with that Android, man.
look here.
Ah!
Look at this smile. She knew. Look at that. That's that's joy. That's passion. That's pain. That's her knowing and understanding, like everything you went through. Um, and because I'm like, I always try to. I attempt to bring people into whatever my experience was. Can you share with us what it felt like to walk out in the finals of the Olympic Games, the pinnacle of our sport as a fan, so you can give people maybe a understanding of like the emotion, you kind of jostling back and forth before you go. Like what is it like walking into Olympic Stadium the night of your final and everything riding?
Um, I was ready. Like I knew that some hardware was going home with me, and like it was just perfect. I knew that I was ready because I slept the night before. 'Cause, you have your semifinal or your prelim, you go to bed, semifinal, final, and I slept the night before, and I was like, oh, somebody got their hands full. I don't know who it is, but somebody. Like I was ready. I was rested. there's this feeling that I get before a race when I'm about to run fast, and I know that I'm going to run fast because I feel like I have to throw up. And if I don't feel like that
Mm.
feeling, I'm like, ugh, it's going to be a rough day for you, girl. And I remember like, warming up for the semifinal and like just feeling like, I'm like, damn, my body feels great. Like warm up was super quick and it was cold outside. So like it was chilly for sprinters and like my body just warmed up super fast. And I was like, whoa, whoa. Went through the semifinal, got through, I ran a season's best. And I was like, that just didn't feel hard. And I was the last semifinal. So I knew that like I would have the least amount of, come down, warm up time. But I was like, I don't even need this. Like I'm good. And I just remember, going through the warm up. And by that time we were the second to last race on the track. I think the mile was after us or the 1500, whatever they call that long race. It was right after us, and so there was hardly anyone on the warm up track, and it was dark. And I just remember loving the feeling of like the sun going down while we were, getting ready. Like, oh man, this is like prime time. Like Kelly, get your life. I was super calm. Dennis and he didn't really say a whole lot, because I think he could just tell that like I knew, and he knew like whatever we had done leading up to it, we couldn't do any more preparing at that point. So just mentally stay dialed in, focused on like the task at hand and like just go. So he walked me to the warm up or like the first call room, dapped me up and he was like, do work, I'll see you at the finish line. And I was like, cool, like walked in and it's freezing cold in there. I don't know why they warm you up and then take you to this room that you literally have to stay in for another 30, 40 minutes and it's freezing cold. And I just remember like feeling like I am ready. I don't have any jitters, like I'm calm. Whatever's going to happen has already happened. So just do your thing. And there was a girl from Turkey, Nevin Yannet, never forget, because we knew she was on. Now that's somebody that was on drugs. We knew, and she was like walking through the little like warm up area, and, like shoulder checking people and bumping people, and we're like, baby, it's not that kind of party. Like I don't know what you've got going on, but like relax. And then she did get busted. By the way, I don't speculate. But like, and it was like if somebody's gonna fight you and they like shoulder bump you, that's what she was doing in the call and like in the second call room. So then they take us out. It was raining, so me, Dawn, and Lolo were like huddled under this thing. We walked in, and I remember Dawn and I made eye contact, and it was like this eye contact of like, all right, like let's do work, like whatever it takes, let's do work. We get undressed, and then it starts to rain again because it stopped raining. It starts to rain again, and we're like, and then they move us back a couple of minutes because Karani had to get his medal, and we're like, Karani, we cool and all, but like, whew, I gotta get this out. Like, come on, like this race, all I need is 12 seconds. That's it, and then you can get your medal. But so waited for his ceremony to go off, and like to look up and like, cause the paddock area where they got medals was like right down the way. So to see that like, dang, that's gonna be us, just execute. And then to know that like we love Karani so much. Like that is, the little brother that we all love, was super exciting. And so then I remember like we heard the usher come across and he's like, okay, it's time. And so then they go through the introductions. And now that is what seemed like a damn hour, like because they
Mm.
go through each lane and they tell everybody's accolades. Even if you're the fourth grade tomahawk throw champion, they're gonna say that right then and there. And so they go through all of that, and then I remember like the crowd disappeared, like there was no noise. I get in the blocks and so my thing was I was a good hurdler, but I was fast. And I'm smaller than everybody else. So I knew that like my turnover in between the hurdles, I could go to work. So I never like to battle it out with the tall girls on top of the hurdles. And they're all like 4 or 5 inches taller than me. So I would be like, go to your run. And so I'm like, Kelly, you have the potential to do this. Get the hell out the blocks and make them come get you. Like, don't hold it back. Like, if you go down, because the year before I fell at World Championships, I'm like, if you go down, you better go down in front. Like it is do or
Mm.
die, because some people only make one Olympic team. So like this is your moment. And I remember the gun went off and I flew out of the blocks. I have the fastest start in history of all the Olympics for male and females. So I came out of the blocks, flew, the race went by in the blink of an eye. Like I crossed the finish line and I was like, and I remember coming off of 10, running, looking up, and as soon as I crossed, I was like 1, 2, 3, and I was like, Jesus, thank you. And my first reaction was like, thank God this is over. Because the amount of pressure that is on, especially an American athlete, is just through the roof. Because they know that like if you're an American and you make the team, you're picked to get a medal. So I remember my
Mm.
first thought was like, thank God this is over. I can breathe. And then I just remember feeling like complete joy. And like there's a picture of me when I'm like looking up like this because I'm like thinking of my mom and knowing that like she's right there with me and I could look up and see my family. And it was just like so much joy and happiness and like completion to know that like I came from a place where I never made a NCAA final. Like I'm only an indoor All American, and knowing that like people thought of me as like the joke or like she could only run 5 hurdles, to knowing that like I'm one of the best in the world. Like all them SEC people, all the people that were slated to do this, like nope, nope, it's me, it's my moment. Like it was such a proving moment of like, dang, like when I left college, I didn't even break 13 seconds. And to know that
Yeah.
like I ran my PR at the right time and I am in the upper echelon of track and field was such a proving moment to myself because I'm so competitive, but I'm not competitive with other people. I'm competitive with the goals that I set for myself. And from a child, I set the goal for myself of I want to run for Nike and I want to go to the Olympics. And it was real and it was true. So it was just so much joy and like completion.
Thank you.
Man,
You know, it's funny. It's funny because when I went back and I looked at your NCAA years, you literally was running against what many was some of the greatest hurdle classes ever.
No,
So
not
you was
maybe.
on,
Not
yeah,
maybe.
was
Yes.
because you had Queen Jenny Powell, like you had the who's who of the hurdles during that time. So you to me, and this is me, I think you was ready to handle that Olympic experience because you already went through the ringer, baby. It was called the NCAA championships. You went against the who's who in track and field, and for you and your story, those are some of the things that we didn't know. You probably right now just inspired so many kids to continue to run because there's this notion that if you're not running this certain time, this and that third, you should give it up. Well, guess what? Had Kelly Wells gave it up, she wouldn't be holding an Olympic medal. So this episode right here is inspiring all those that we're working with and coming up afterwards. So I tip my hat to you. I salute you on that. Cal, go ahead.
oh yeah, definitely. And we're not done, man. She's gonna keep
Mm,
dropping some gems. So Kelly, I know you do like you do some motivational speaking and everything. Because it's been so good, but I still want to go here for the young ladies out there. So please speak on the fight against sexual abuse, sexual assault before we let you go.
Uh it's a real fight and it comes at women of all like and all walks of life. And I just wrote a blog recently about the over sexualization of young black women. And it stems from, you know, lifetimes before any of us were born because, young slave girls were looked at as, just something to do. And then that has trickled down over time. And then now that it's even come into our own, black men looking at our black women as just something to do. So even like I can think back to high school and there, you'd have your girl that's a junior or a senior dating a college guy. That is assault, like assault on the highest level. I don't care how people want to frame it or whatever. The old guy hanging out at the high school hangouts, that is assault. And there are so many things that like I've had to learn that are assault. um Lamont and I just had a spirited debate over it a little while ago, of stuff that is assault that, it may not be looked at like assault. And there's just so much education to do. And I tell young women all the time, if you feel if you feel that you are wronged, you have to speak up and speak out on it.
Kelly, before you continue,
Yeah.
to allow me once again to admit that I misread the
You did.
meme, but I was too egomaniacal to admit that I misread it. I just wanted to stay within what I thought. So once again, allow me to apologize for the world to see this, because this goes up on YouTube. I
Yeah.
misread. I I misread. I miscomprehended. That's on me. I take full responsibility for that. But in
Man,
no
Kelly
way,
has gotten two apologies in one day. Woo!
y'all two ain't getting none. Y'all two ain't getting one. But go ahead, Kelly.
But there are lots of forms of assault that people go through because guys get assaulted too, and I don't want people to feel like they have to take a behavior just because it is what has happened over time. It could have ruined me, and there's still parts of me. I'm in therapy till this day, like because of you know stuff that happened to me growing up, and innocence
Mm-hmm.
being taken, and then learning of like, okay, so I was raped when I was 16, and then when I got to college I was over sexual because I was compensating for something that was taken from me. And then there was a long time where sexual act relationships in general were not pleasurable, but I still did them because one, like, I'm like, okay, this is my form of control. Like nobody's going to control me. I'll do what when I want with whoever I want. And I wish that I would have shared what happened to me in my story way before I did, because talking, I've only been coached by men. I mean, I've had some assistant women coaches, but like, I mean, Maurice and I, like, that's my heart right there. And speaking with him, and like him realizing of how I reacted to situations, he was like, I wish that I would have known, because I'm still kind of that way. Like, I'm really rebellious. Like nobody can really put the reins on me. Like if I just want to do something, that's just kind of how I am. And I know that it comes from like the abuse. So I'm working on it. So I'm working, but I could have, like, I was uncoachable at times, and not like on the track, because if a coach told me to do something, like I did it because I wanted to be good, but it would be other things or behavioral issues that I had. My mouth, like how I would speak to people, especially a man that would try to tell me what to do. Coach P, Maurice, and I, we would bump heads all the time, like all the time, because I was uncoachable. My high school coach said the same thing, and but they said that if they would have known these things about me, and like the stuff that I grew up in, and just the violence that I witnessed, that they would have coached me softer, and then I probably wouldn't have blossomed the way that I did. Even Dennis, the same. Of they, because I mean, I've had hard coaches. If anybody knows Dennis Mitchell, he's got a military background, and that's how he coaches. And they may have coached me a bit softer, so it probably wouldn't have been great for me. But just knowing, I shared my story on ESPN, and girls have come to me and been like, "Oh my gosh, you encourage me to share, you encourage me to get therapy." I encourage everybody to get therapy, even if you've never had a major trauma, because most of us are carrying the trauma of our parents and our grandparents, stuff that is put on us that we may, not even think that is wrong, that we need to get out and work out in therapy. Because I know that, I birthed a little son, and he is the epitome of my entire life. Like, I love him more than I ever thought that I could love anything. And I don't want to put my traumas onto him. And in the Black community, especially, we look at, therapy like, oh, I go to church or I go to the barbershop. It's not the same thing as getting clinical therapy. Somebody that is a doctor that is trained to hear you and listen to you. Because when you talk to your homeboys or your homegirls, or even in the church, you're going to skew things in a way that you're not judged. And you have to go somewhere where you can just say what it is, and you are not judged, and they help you realize why you're making decisions the way that you made them.
That's a fact. I definitely support the counseling. I won't go into my story, but I've definitely been someone that has utilized it, and it is
Good.
phenomenal. It does help. So Lamont, I'm gonna give you your time with these two apologies. So Kelly, if you haven't seen our show before, Lamont, man, he's our superstar. I gotta give him that. So we created a segment just for him, and I'm sure you've seen it with his Facebook posts. But it is "Don't Debate Me on This." So Lamont, what do you have for us this week?
Wow. Okay. So the funny thing is, I thought we was gonna do straight Kelly, but I right now my ultimate don't debate me is the what is
If you don't have it, it's okay. Cause I mean, she has rocked out today. Seriously. So
right, but I got one. I got
okay.
Here it
so
comes.
so
Here it
so
comes.
the ultimate don't debate me was one that just happened yesterday. Okay. It's about greatness. Okay. I feel that Evelyn Ashford is the greatest American female 100-meter sprinter of all time. Yet still, a lot of people want to say that FloJo is. Now, let's check the records. Evelyn Ashford broke the world record twice. Evelyn Ashford ran under 11 seconds 30 plus times.
Yep.
Okay. Evelyn Ashford probably would have been the 1980 Olympic champion. She was the 84 champion. She made every team from 76 all the way up to 92. Now, here's where everything gets distorted. Yes, did FloJo get the silver medal in the 200 in 84? Yes, she did. Did FloJo have some lean years in between there? Yes. FloJo had one great year. She had an Aries merit year. So is Aries merit?
Oh,
Is Aries
Yeah,
merit?
oh,
he went there.
oh,
Right?
Ah,
Okay? Oh,
poor
is
noodle.
Aries merit? Is Aries merit? Alan Johnson?
Yeah, no,
Suffer Powell better than is a Suffer Powell better than Carl Lewis? Hell, is a Suffer Powell
no.
better than Maurice Green?
Ooh, shade.
No. A
Ooh,
Suffer was
ooh.
right. So my thing is this: we can all respect the exploits in which FloJo has done. FloJo's two records. Now, mind you, none of us was in track at the time when she set the record. My college coach, God rest his soul, said that the wind was blowing harder than the damn hookah party. Okay, it was blowing, and the wind gauge was like it was 0.0. People like hell no, that's not real. That can't be factual. Now, there's other things we want to throw in there, but out of respect for Coach Al Joyner, I'm not gonna mention that, and I don't want to throw off no bombs and stuff like
Ooh,
that. I'm
don't
gonna respect the
speculate. Don't
dead.
do that. Don't.
yeah.
Ooh, don't
Right, right,
speculate.
right.
Ooh,
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm leaving that.
I ain't with
That's
him.
why. That's why I am leaving that out.
We
So,
not either. He just on the
so,
show.
so she has right. So she has the world record. I
Mhm.
give it that. But when you look, but when you look at the total body of work, Evelyn Ashford goes down as the greatest women's 100 meter sprinter in American history. They ain't up for debate. Don't at me. And if you come for the king, you best not miss.
All right. We won't go at it with you on that. Nah, we're not gonna touch that one. That we're gonna put an asterisk by that one. But now, Kelly,
I
spotlight
didn't.
is
I didn't speculate. I didn't speculate. I'm
no, you
just saying
didn't.
the
You
work.
didn't. You didn't. I'm
I didn't
the
say. I said.
reason,
Hey, I,
the
said, I don't
reason
want to talk about the dead.
nah,
I don't want to talk about the dead.
I'm gonna take this win of hearing you apologize twice on camera. So I'm not gonna debate anything at all. Like two of them. All right, but Kelly, so another thing that we do as well, we like to give out roses. So we like to highlight people that don't always get to hear their thank you. So if there is someone in your life, even if it's someone you've already mentioned, now is your time to give that person their roses while they can still smell them.
Lord, just one? Cause I have like four, maybe.
You can give all four. It's your
Okay.
show.
Okay. Don't tell me that. Um, I mean, all thanks go to Dennis Mitchell. Dennis found me. It was MEAC championships. We were in Orlando, Florida. I hit a hurdle in the hurdle final of MEACs and fell. Like, of course, I was gonna win. And I hit a hurdle and fell. And he was the first person to come scrape me up off the track. And I remember he looked me like when I mean dead in the face, and I've got scrape marks. And he's like, "Yo, if you move down here, I can make you one of the best hurdlers in the world. I promise you that. I've seen you compete. I know you have it. All you have to do is trust me." And like, I'm like, he's saying this to the person he's like scraping off of the ground. Like, so he literally changed my entire career. He changed my thought process. So roses to him. Thank you to him. Thank you for helping me change my entire life. Helping me get a medal. Taking me when no other coaches would take me. There were other coaches that I approached to try to go to, and nobody would take me. Nobody wanted to coach me. There was one other person, Garfield Thompson, who's still one of my, Garfield Ellenwood, Jesus, that's still one of my very close friends. He came to my wedding. That's my guy. And it was between him and Dennis, but Dennis also had his wife there, or his fiance at the time, Damu Cherry Mitchell. Roses to her as well for teaching me everything that she knew and taking me through the ropes of having, because she came from the bottom as well. So Damu, my agent, who's still one of my, that's like my family, Robert Wagner. Um, think what you want about him. People believe what you want about him. That guy has been down for me since the moment he signed me. He put his neck on the line for me several times to get me in races that I shouldn't have been in. He helped me create a like a body of work to get me to an Olympic medal. When I got hurt, he paid for my therapy. I didn't have the money, and he paid for it and never asked me for a dime back, not one penny. Put me in hotel rooms, traveled me to get fixed. And he did that for several of his athletes and never asked for a dime back. So I think that like those three people were just so instrumental in my career. And then like high school coach, college coach, Maurice, Pierce, like that's family there. And, he gave me a chance when a lot of people didn't want to give me a chance either. So he's always had my back.
Okay, cool. We appreciate that. So Kelly, if people want to reach you, what's your Twitter, what's your IG, your website? How can they get in touch with you? If they need to book, I want to get you booked. I want to get you paid. I want you to share your story.
Book me. I do sensitivity training. I do sexual abuse training. I do workplace interactions. I do all of that kind of stuff. So my email, or no, my website is www.kelliewellsbrinkley.com, and that's Kelly with an IE. I am not a Y girl. So IE. My Twitter is at Kelly Wells with a Z.
Got
You're missing the L in the Wells, because it's WELLZ,
got
because there is I get a porn star that has like my same name. There is, I swear to God, I swear,
So we
there's
got
a,
to get it right there, Kelly.
that's it, yes. So
All
it's
right.
not an S. There's not an S. There is a
That's a Z.
Z
Yeah, we
for
got
it.
the Z.
Yes, for
Yeah.
a purpose. And then my Instagram is at Kelly Wells Brinkley, and that's spelled correctly. Yep, just like that, Kelly Wells Brinkley. I try to respond to all DMs because I know that sometimes people just want to be heard. And if I can be that voice to somebody that needs to get their story out, that just needs to be heard, that wants to feel like they're not crazy, do that. Hit me up on Facebook. It's Kelly Wells. So feel free to contact. I love to talk. I work from home because of COVID. And all of my fun stuff is stopped because we can't travel. So get at me, book me. I'm here.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Look, well, guys, unless y'all have anything to add, I think, and I'm not downplaying any other episode, but this has definitely been one of the best ones yet. I think a lot of gems were dropped. And this is essentially why we created the show, Kelly. So we may know you in the track world, but there's so many people that may not know, and especially outside. So that's why we call ourselves like the most known unknowns. Like you may be a known name, but we need more people to know, who you are and what your story is. But guys, if y'all don't have anything more to add, this has been what's up, Lamont?
Um, I want stamps of myself and yourself as well to give y'all roses out.
I'm
I
ready.
definitely want that to happen. Um, I'm gonna give my roses this week, and this is gonna be a little twist, but I want to give my roses out to Marissa Chu, and here's why. Marissa Chu has done a lot for the track and field community, the coaches especially during this COVID. She created a Facebook group that was supposed to only have like 1,000 people in there, and it blew up to almost like 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people. She will put on these clinics, Zoom clinics. She will put on the Packer clinics for Coach Brooks Johnson. You know, she's very meticulous of what she does. Not only that, she's one hell of a coach but an even better human being. And a lot of people said this on the recent calls that if it wasn't for Marissa, a lot of these coaches wouldn't know what to do with themselves. And so, Marissa, I give you your roses, just like I gave it to you on that video cast. I give you your roses today.
Stamps.
I like to give my roses to my first All-American. Her name is Jamila St. Cyr out at Cal State, LA. It's a young lady. I think it's appropriate because she was a 100 hurdler. When I got the job at Cal State, LA, Coach Chris Asher, who gave me my first college job, I think I already gave him some roses. I said, hey, man, I want you to do the hurdles, multis, and kind of find your niche there and assist me, with the sprints. And I took a young lady that ran a 15.6 her senior year, and she was the only freshman to make the D2 final out at Mount Sac, and she went from 15.6 to 14.01.
Oh, wow.
Her first year with me, and then ended up, by the time I was there, she ended up getting down about 13.60 and was third at NCAA Division II out at Fort Hays State. So I want to give my roses to Jamila St. Cyr because that was the first athlete in my first year coaching on the collegiate level that kind of validated I knew what I was doing from what my mentors have taught me in the coach's education, USA track and field and whatnot, to let me know that I was going down the path that would lead me to being in a profession now going into year 17. So my roses today go to Jamila St. Cyr.
That's what's up. Believe it or not, Lamont, Marissa was mine, but I always have a backup. So I'm giving my roses to Coach Jason Lamont Jackson, that we all know. I think what he's doing right now, just from a different angle of trying to educate parents, coaches, and student athletes, and I know we have conversations about recruiting all the time, but him just trying to create this archive and him also just having a very conscious presence on social media about Black lives and Black people, Black students. And, him and I, we talk a lot. I tip my hat to him and what he's doing, because he's just like a lot of us right now, just trying to figure out a way to not only just navigate our sport, but like push our people forward during this time. So I give my roses to Coach Jason Lamont Jackson. He's also someone that I personally miss that is no longer in collegiate track and field, but he is still at least a part of the sport in some capacity. All right. So cool.
Yeah. And I worked and I worked for Jason Lamont Jackson at Virginia State too. And
That's
definitely I've seen his work.
right.
I definitely see what he's done. I've seen what he's done. That's one hell of a platform he created. So I'm definitely in support of that.
All right. So look, again, this has been an amazing episode. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. I'm definitely gonna
Thank
be
you for having me.
Yeah, I had so Dee Dee Trotter, she came and spoke with my young ladies last year.
Oh yeah, Dee Trotter.
I'm trying to create a series of just women coming year after year after year. So you will be hearing from me. But this has been Track Chat with the most known unknown.
Yo, what's good, world? What up? You have logged into the Track Chat with Coach Mont Johnson, Johnson C. Smith, Coach Hassan Stamps, East Tennessee State, Coach Kyle Stevenson, Georgia State, and Coach David Pickett, North Greenville. And on the intro, you got me, Coach Chink, ECU. Say what you want, speak from the gut. But if you're speaking to us, study, buddy, dog, my people are nuts. Run up in and acting deep if you want. You want me keeping a buck? It's not the place for that. Your face will get cut. This ain't the running in place. It's at full throttle. Who wanna race? Known the unknowns, let's make the debates. Knees up, never ease up. Breaking the tape. Why you bringing up the rear, looking for ways to escape? Truth hurt, don't it? Stay in your lane. Better back up everything you say with proof, or we'll put flames in your name. This is an end of field talk. Don't come in with this skybox, or you will get ejected, outlined on the sidewalk. If you want to hold court, better come with full force, cause we pulling all cards. You know what the vlog's for? Track chat, rap with the facts. We make it do what it do, don't need no pass on the back. And we don't care where the truth is. We're here with the blueprints, building on a legacy, the real, keep it moving. Winners never lose, maybe learn from the bruises. You might land in jail, but you'll get flurried till you're stupid. So guard your grill or pray to God for jaws of steel. Shouldn't kick a man when he's down, but it probably will. Far from arrogant, confident in a skill. I wouldn't argue if I was you, log it and chill. Peace.